Now, the last topic, Eddie, I got to talk to you about the Conor Benn situation. Give us an update on what's going on with him, what ruling is going to get sent out to him.
So he's going through a legal process at the moment where he will have a hearing over the next couple of weeks. Ultimately, that's going to decide his fate, or his immediate fate, in boxing. You know, there's a huge amount of science and research that's gone on behind the scenes. That case will be presented, and he will be found not guilty, or he'll be banned. You know, 3 months, 6 months, a year, like whatever that could be. And we need to go through that process, because until then, he can't even think about fighting, and he wouldn't either. So, you know, he has to go through that process. He has to have that hearing, and that will happen over the next couple of weeks. And we want that to speed up, because obviously there's a lot of people talking in the media. Let's get the facts out there. Let's hear his case and let someone decide his future in boxing. And it's going to be a very big fight for him.
How long would a suspension be for something like that?
I mean, absolutely no idea. I mean, depending on the ruling from the case, you know, in terms of the levels, in terms of the potential contamination. You know, when we talk about contamination, whenever you say that, people say, oh, pull the other one. You know, the science of these numbers and around all these other tests could suggest that. But you can't just say it's contamination. Ultimately, you know, I've been through this with Conor Benn a number of times, a dozen times where I've had him in the office over the last, you know, month, 6 weeks with his team and everybody. It's shown up in his system. You have to justify that, and you have to give your case for that. So in that respect, if you can't just say that the science believes it's a contamination. Is that okay? Do you know what I mean? Even if you've been unlucky, you have to pay the consequences. So that may come in the shape of, you know, if someone felt like it wasn't a deliberate ingestion of this substance, is it a 3 month or 6 month? If they feel it was, is it 12 months? Is it 2 years? I have no idea. But ultimately, he's in a very difficult situation. And also, Marcus, the public have already made up their mind without knowing anything, really. Because in this situation, it's not really innocent until proven guilty. It's guilty until proven innocent. And I get that, because if you fail a drug test, you fail a drug test. It's in your system. And you have to prove why it's in there. And that's now the biggest fight that he has in front of him. And we have no idea when he'll be back in the ring. But until this process takes place, he can't think about it. I don't think he wants to think about it, because he wants the public to hear all the facts, and he wants a decision to be made, and then he wants to either deal with that or resume training and get back in the ring.
When is it gonna happen in terms of the British Border Control going to meet with them and decide all that?
I think that the hearing will take place in the next week or two. I've no idea how long it's going to take. There's a big legal process going on. I would think that over the next 3 or 4 weeks there'll be a final decision in terms of his future in boxing and when that could potentially resume.
In terms of the contamination from what he's saying, I think a lot of fans, when they looked up the actual substance, are wondering how the heck is something like that end up in any sort of supplement. It's something used to boost someone's testosterone. What 25-year-old needs a boost in testosterone? Like, that's when you as a person, as an athlete, have the highest testosterone, when you're in 25, 26, around there. I guess, what would you say to that?
Nothing. I mean, I would also say that this particular substance you would never ever use to cheat in boxing when you are being tested across the board with UCAD. Don't forget, Conor Benn requested additional VADA testing for this substance. You know, when I talk to the scientists, the experts about this stays in your system for months and months and months when you're on a cycle of it. So you would have to be, have a very low intelligence level to even consider taking. And I know how professional Conor Benn is in his preparation. So again, like, it's hard doing interviews on it, Marcus, because people have already made their decision, and when I talk they go, oh yeah, but knowing him, right, and knowing, again, like, I go back to when we made the fight and he's asking me to do VADA testing, like Eubank's asking me to do VADA. He knows, he got tested 7 or 8 times during this process, right? He didn't think that he wasn't going to be tested. And all the tests around it, because of the levels, and I've seen some people like Dan Raphael talk about trace levels are irrelevant. They're really not irrelevant when there's testing around it that were negative, you know. So I'm not really supposed to say anything on this, but I like to talk on it because I speak quite passionately about it. but ultimately it's going to play out, and you're going to get all the information, and a court or a governing body is going to make a decision on his future in the sport. And what you think or what I think is actually irrelevant, and that will be in due course.
In terms of that, how has he taken it, Conor? And has he told you, like, look, I didn't take this on purpose?
Like, you know, the first thing you hear, like, I'm not an idiot at the same time. I know that very often a fighter or an athlete that cheats will, of course, deny taking any supplement. So the first time when you receive that information, my immediate response is guilty, right? But also knowing the kid, it was kind of like a moment of confusion where I'm like, what? Like, Conor, like, this is a guy, again, requesting testing, know that he's like, and he, like, Tony Sims, his trainer, who is the purest man in boxing, he's been my friend for years, like, they virtually live together, right? And I'm like, this just doesn't make sense. Then we start doing the research. We get the reports from the labs. We start looking at the other testing around it. We speak to the scientists. We do our research about clomiphene. You know, the UFC guys have been very helpful on this because they've had similar information and stuff like that. And then you get the kid in front of you. And the amount of times and things have happened in the office where he's had plenty of opportunities to either be honest with us, and also he has to build a case here as to why he could be innocent. Do you know how easy it would be, and fighters have done it in the past with this substance, to say, my wife is on fertility treatments and we have it in the house and I don't know what's happening, but he doesn't want to lie. You know, and sometimes you can't give a clear answer as to why this could be in his system. But again, I believe him. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I can only tell you about what I know about the facts, the science, the young man. And again, how is he? He's absolutely broken and devastated. But no one really, but you know, the response to that would be good by some people. But what if he's innocent? Do you know what I mean? But again, I've done so much talking on this, and time will tell, and ultimately a decision will be made.
The whole, I guess, UCAD VADA thing, it's like UCAD didn't pick it up, but VADA did. So what's the point of even having UCAD if they don't go ahead and update their I guess, the list of banned substances?
The list is irrelevant. It's on both lists. But this is what I'm saying about the amount of the levels in the test versus a test that was taken could be a week before or a week after. It doesn't really make sense. So again, that's all part of the science that has to be unearthed. But UCAD testing is the testing agency and authority that ultimately the board acknowledge. And he passed all of those tests during camp, but failed a VADA test. So, and we implemented the VADA test, we paid for it. And people are right when they say, what's the point of having VADA if you don't acknowledge their results? But VADA is also a reporting agency. It's not an agency that makes a decision on sanctioning fights. The British Boxing Board of Control is. So when the information was received to us, the board, the commission, also received the information at the same time. I can't cancel the fight at that stage contractually. It's up to the commission to give me a decision. And ultimately, they took weeks and weeks to make a decision, and they made it 3 days before the fight when we'd spent all the money, and I feel like it looked particularly worse on us because of how long the board took to make their decision. If they would have received the results and said, we're not sanctioning this fight, we would have put a press release out and there would have been no controversy other than Conor Benn failing the test. I feel like it was a difficult situation, and there needs to be more clarity in terms of what testing authority the British Boxing Board of Control acknowledge. Because I feel like everybody should acknowledge VADA because we're paying for it. So the board need more testing. But yeah, one for the future.
This will be the last one, Eddie. You got a lot of shtick, a lot of criticism about wanting to go through with the fight still. You just mentioned a little bit about it. I guess...
Yeah, but that's also a lie. We never, at the end of the day, people said, you tried to go through with a fight against the commission. We didn't. Probably the one mistake we made, Marcos, is on the Wednesday before the fight, about 45 minutes before the media workout, we got this information from the board. They leaked it to the media as well, right? So we're like, hold on, like, we've been waiting weeks and weeks for your decision on this. And again, it was a tough decision for them because of the science behind the tests, right? So we was in a position where we were like, we're considering our position at this stage. We could have got an injunction against the board and gone ahead with a fight. Easy, right? We could have used another commission. Easy. We chose not to continue with the fight, but we put it in the hands of the commission, the regulatory body, to make a decision. Once they made their decision, we respected that decision. But it wasn't a case of we were trying to go through the fight. They had the test results the same time we had the test results. We have to wait for the regulatory body to make a decision. Unfortunately, they made a decision 3 days before the fight. It was a mess. I'm not saying anyone handled it perfectly, but it's life and on we go.
Why did it take so long?
I don't know. Ask the board. But I will say it was a difficult decision because of the science, and you'll see that come out. Where, don't forget as well, Chris Eubank Jr. says, I'm okay. I've spoken to my doctor about the levels, about the substance. I've spoken to Conor Benn. I'm happy to proceed with the bout. The board get the information from VADA, from the labs. I don't think they knew what to do, because there's been situations before where they've not acknowledged VADA testing, just UCAD. And their rules state that you can only suspend a fighter if he fails a UCAD test, and he didn't. So it was very, very confusing, but ultimately I feel that we looked worse because of the period the British Boxing Board of Control took. And to be honest with you as well, and I know people don't care financially, but we've probably done $1 million because of that period they took to make a decision. I'm talking hotels, flights, venues, all the things, you know, media workouts, launch parties, everything that you could cancel, we couldn't cancel because they took weeks and weeks to make a decision. And I think they made the right decision, by the way. But I wish they would have made it sooner.
All right, Eddie. Hey, man, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this video, and make sure to subscribe for more videos of your favorite fighters over here on Fight Up TV, and give us a follow online as well at Fight Up TV on Twitter and on Instagram. We appreciate it, guys.